Tanzanite gemstones mined by a small miner worth 7 billion shillings. The number of women aspirants increases in Zanzibar. And in sports, TFF has launched the Bounce Back UF Access Plan aimed at reviving the sport after the coronavirus pandemic. Good evening, this is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Khadija Zimbwe. First, the national news. President Dr. John Magufuli has said the government will continue to look after small miners who are determined to increase the country's revenues through the sector. President Dr. John Magufuli made the statement via telephone when the Minister of Minerals, Doto Biteko, was receiving 2 Tanzanite gemstones, in the biggest ever to be found at Mererani Mines in Simanjiro District, Manyara region, worth 7 billion shillings.
I'm glad that the governor has released the money under your leadership, Honorable Minister, so we could buy the Tanzanite. We've come from far. A lot was said that was disheartening and to hinder progress in small miners of Tanzania, especially those from Mererani. A lot of information came up to scare small miners that they were too insignificant, and it was perceived that an outsider was the only one who could be productive. What is 8 billion to Dr. John Pombe Magufuli? Today, Mr. Liza will not be handed a piece of paper, but cash.
Women aspirants have continued to collect nomination forms on the Chama Mapinduzi CCM ticket, bringing the number to 3 so far. Today's aspirants were Hasna Atai Masood, an IT expert from the Energy Authority, and Fatma Kombo Masood. Meanwhile, NCCR Mageuzi Party has announced that it will contest the presidential race in the Isles.
Uchaguzi uliopita mwaka 2005 niligombea uwakilishi.
In the last election, I contested for representation through special seats. I take this opportunity to commend the 7th phase government under the leadership of Ali Mohammed Shein. I came to collect my card and not to speak to the press. I'm asking that when I come to collect the form, we shall speak more.
Inspector General of Police IGP Simon Siro has transferred some police commanders in order to increase efficiency in the force. Among those transferred include Kilimanjaro Region Police Commander ACP Salum Hamduni, who now becomes Police Commander of Arusha, while Arusha Police Commander ACP Jonathan Shana has been transferred to Moshi Police Academy. Empowerment Staff Officer ACP Emmanuel Lukula becomes the new police commander for Kilimanjaro region, with ACP Andrew Sata taking over as a Parliament Staff Officer.
Today, the 24th of June 2020, Inspector General of the Police Simon Siro has reshuffled commanders so as to increase efficiency in the police operations.
Polisi mkoa wa Kilimanjaro, kamishna msaidizi wa polisi Salum Hamduni kwenda kuwa kamanda wa polisi mkoa wa Arusha.
Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa has said the government under the leadership of President Dr. John Magufuli is addressing various challenges facing Tanzanians, such as health, water, infrastructure and education without ideological bias. Prime Minister Majaliwa made the statement after touring Dandagala dispensary in Ruangwa district, Lindi region.
At the moment, we are working to finding solutions to problems affecting the people. A member of parliament or councillor cannot resolve a problem that someone is facing. When there is a lack of education or medical care, we take these services to the people. It doesn't matter if you are affiliated with a different political party. What matters is your area must be okay. We must move forward together.
Kwa niaba ya wakazi wa Luchelegwa, nipende kuishukuru serikali ya 5.
On behalf of the people of Luchelegwa, I commend the fifth phase government led by Honorable Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, who has given us this vehicle. Previously, transport was a big concern, more so when we had to transport a patient. We are truly grateful. I commend the President, Honorable Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, and the Prime Minister, Kassim Majaliwa, for this gift. Previously, it was very hard for expectant mothers.
Residents of Avocado Street in Kawe area, Kinondoni District, Dar es Salaam, have expressed concern on lorries weighing more than 10 tons for using the road while carrying heavy cargo, which is offloaded outside a house along the street, inconveniencing other users of the road.
Kutokana yale magari yana uzito mkubwa, tani kubwa. Kwa hiyo na hii barabara imewekwa tani yake sio kupita magari yale.
Vehicles with the capacity to carry heavy loads use this road, which is not meant for that.
Labda wale watu wahusika wanaotoa mizigo yao labda bandarini kufikisha.
Cargo transporters should use small vehicles allowed to use this road.
Kimsingi sisi kama ofisi taarifa tunazo na tushakwenda kuzungumza na wale.
Vehicles exceeding 10 tons are not permitted to use this particular road. Those who break the rules do so very late at night, which is hard for us to patrol.
Kuanzia saa 7 saa 8 na tumekuwa tukipata taarifa kwa wakazi wa eneo lile. Sasa muda kidogo unakuwa umekwenda sana, ni usiku, kwa hiyo tunashindwa kwenda kuyazuia yale yasiingie.
Tanzania Bus Owners Association has condemned drivers who race each other with passengers on board at Igumburo village in Iringa. This comes after 2 racing buses were captured via mobile phone camera of a man who witnessed the incident.
Happy Nation yakiliwa na Lungwe Gemilang DNN, japokuwa Happy Nation hakubali. Kama mnavyoona hapo, kudare kivyuma hivyo. Imeisha hiyo, akifuatiwa na Sauli Nyama Mkali. Tege boy, kula tuta Tege boy. Imeisha hiyo. Kama mnavyoona, DPK akimla Talent, nyuma kukiwa na DMG tena. Kama mnavyoona, DPK huyo tayari naye kapiga tuta. Talent kinyonge kala black hapo.
Kweli tunalani kabisa vitendo vya madereva.
We strongly condemn the actions of drivers who are racing against each other at a speed above 50 kilometers per hour in an area prohibited. We do not condone such behavior as it puts the lives of passengers and their property at risk. We have taken steps to notify the police force so that relevant measures can be taken against them. This should serve as a warning to other drivers in Tanzania.
Ya kuingia kwenye mtandao na mimi nikaona na akaniambia dereva yule atakapofika nimkabidhi kwenye vyombo.
I saw what took place over the internet and he told me that once the driver gets back then I must hand him over to security forces. And once he arrived, I did so. We as a company condemn such behavior. The driver has been suspended.
Huyu kaogopa kula tuta. Wale.
And that is the end of national news. International news follows next. Welcome back, and in international news. Vice President Prosper Bazombaza and Prime Minister Alain Guillaume of Burundi have taken their oath before the new President, Parliament and Senate. The two leaders were sworn in after the Parliament approved their nomination yesterday.
Imbere y'Imana mushobora byose n'imbere y'umukuru w'igihugu.
In front of God and the President of United Republic of Burundi, I, Prosper Bazombanza, Vice President, I swear to be faithful and follow the national constitution, to protect and safeguard public assets as well as maintain unity and peace of Burundians.
Kukira kwa Republika y'u Burundi. Imbere y'Imana mushobora byose, imbere y'umukuru w'igihugu.
I, Alain Guillaume, Prime Minister, swear in front of God and the President of United Republic of Burundi to be faithful and adhere to the national constitution. With all my strength, I will protect and safeguard public assets as well as maintain unity and peace of Burundians.
N'akabenegihugu bose.
Coronavirus cases in Kenya have gone up to 5,206 after 254 more people tested positive from 4,859 samples in the last 24 hours. Health Administrative Secretary Dr. Mercy Mwangangi said all the new cases are Kenyans and comprises of 186 males and 68 females.
Mombasa and Nairobi city counties have had the highest infection rate of COVID-19. And we've been able to look at this and define that Mombasa has an attack rate of about 107, whereas Nairobi has about an attack rate of 55. And these statistics are important because it tells us that the risk of transmission, the risk of you getting COVID-19 is higher in Mombasa compared to Nairobi counties. And again, we are working to ensure that we are actually able to define risk per county as we continue going forward. For our COVID-19 situation, in terms of statistics today, we tested 4,859 samples, of which 254 people tested positive for the virus. Therefore, this brings to total our country caseload to 5,206.
Parliament in Uganda has said it will debate the decision made by the Election Commission banning public election campaigns due to the coronavirus pandemic. How can the Election Commission ban what we call massive campaign? Where do they get the power of coming up with such kind of law? Education sector has been researched among other key sectors. What will be so difficult to call off elections? My question is, why are we running away from such questions? There has been a new lockdown in Gütersloh in Western Germany, and to find out more about this, our Capital Television's reporter Vanessa Victor had a discussion with Kate Brady from Berlin, from our media partner Deutsche Welle.
New lockdown in Gütersloh in Western Germany. This is the first place in Germany to reimpose the restrictions on an entire local area. Joining us now from Berlin is our correspondent Kate Brady from our media partner Deutsche Welle. Kate, first, 2 districts in Western Germany have had restrictions reimposed just weeks after they were lifted. Why did that happen?
Well, this all happened because of a huge outbreak at a slaughterhouse in Gütersloh that you mentioned in Western Germany, and some 1,500 employees at this slaughterhouse tested positive for COVID-19, and since then a number of members of the public who didn't work at this slaughterhouse have also tested positive, and as a result the state premier of North Rhine-Westphalia, the state in Western Germany where this slaughterhouse is, decided to put not only Gütersloh but also a neighbouring district back under lockdown. So people are still able to leave their houses to go get groceries, for example, but until at least June 30th, all of those measures that we'd seen relaxed will be back in place. So pubs, cafes, restaurants, museums, schools will indeed all be closed, and people will only be able to mix with people from their own household.
So what's the situation elsewhere in Germany?
Well, in the meantime, the restrictions are continuing to be relaxed. People are still largely required to wear masks on public transport and also in shops. But at the same time, we are starting to see more of these cluster infections, like at that slaughterhouse in Western Germany, popping up in other places as well, particularly in housing blocks, and especially those that aren't always in the best condition. And so it seems what we're seeing at the moment is some of the most vulnerable in Germany's society being hit the hardest. Here in Berlin too, there's been a couple of districts where more than 100 people have now tested positive for COVID-19 as well, and several apartment blocks have been put back under quarantine. So all in all, it's quite a steady situation right now, but we are seeing more of these cluster infections popping up around the country.
The R rate, which is the rate that coronavirus spreads, has also skyrocketed. How concerned are authorities?
Well, for now, this increase in the reproduction rate, so the rate at which it's passed on to other people, is currently at about 2.02, and the aim is to get that number under 1. So as you can see, it's more than double of what it should be right now. But the Public Health Institute here in Germany, the Robert Koch Institute, has attributed the spike in this R rate to these cluster infections that we talked about. So in the meantime, the general nationwide number of new cases in Germany is still relatively low, but of course they will be keeping an eye on whether these numbers begin to increase outside of these cluster infections, as of course that would then be an indication that we could indeed see more of these regional lockdowns, which would certainly be a great reason for concern here in Germany.
Well, thank you very much, Kate, for that update. Until next time.
And that is the end of international news. Business news follows next.
Watch Business Edition as we talk to business leaders and experts in sectors that are transforming Tanzania's economy.
We believe that the driver is the customer.
To change the mindset of traditional HR to the digitalization.
Make sure that everybody can get some access to financial services.
And once we understand the vision of our leaders, we then need to be behind them and help them in achieving that vision.
Business have involved mercantile operations, trade guilds, or shared agricultural production. Infrastructure, construction, financial sectors, tourism, and mining. Business Edition on Friday at 8:15 p.m.
Welcome back, and in business news tonight. The government has allowed private buyers to buy coffee this season in order to address challenges which occurred last season when the commodity was bought through cooperatives.
Moja kwamba viwanda vya ndani vya ukubwa wa kahawa vilikuwa vinakosa malighafi.
There are several challenges, including domestic processing factories lacking enough materials to complete their work and even lack competition in our markets, with delay of farmers' payments as well as fall in prices of coffee at the global markets. The government is determined to improve the cooperative system in the country.
Serikali kupitia bodi ya kahawa imeruhusu wanunuzi binafsi.
The government, through Coffee Board, has allowed private and manufacturing companies to buy coffee direct to AMCOS groups, a move that has brought competition in the sector, with many companies registering for buying coffee. We believe that there shall be improvements of prices. Lindi Region Commissioner Godfrey Zambi has called a meeting with sesame buyers and leaders of cooperatives to see how they can address impact of falling prices, a situation that has caused farmers from Ruangwa, Nachingwea and Liwale districts stop selling their sesame harvests.
Na tumesema sisi viongozi,
my call to all responsible leaders is to ensure that prices do not go down. Unfortunately, most of our farmers believe that we are the reason behind falling prices. Emphasis should be kept on buying season. Once the window opens, stakeholders must be there on time to complete the exercise as scheduled. Dar es Salaam Commercial Bank says that its capital grew from 16 billion shillings in 2018 to 25 billion shillings last year after the bank put in place an efficient shares buying and monitoring system on unpaid loans worth 1.8 billion shillings in 2019. 9.7 billion shillings was collected from shares sold at the market. The sales exceeded our expectations of 8.9 billion shillings. This shows that Tanzanians have faith in DCB Bank. Thus, we urge them to continue investing with us.
Kubwa zaidi na benki yao ya DCB na tunaomba waendelee kuwekeza.
And that's the end of business news. Sports news follows next.
Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment and going away. Gay trying to go with him and he's going to be dragged through the second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment and going away. Gay trying to go with him and he's going to be dragged through the second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Opposition, Joaquinho, he did lose to Lend.
And in sports news, Tanzania Football Federation TFF has launched the Bounce Back UEFA Assist Plan aimed at reviving the sport after the corona pandemic.
Bounce Back. Yeah, Bounce Back program ni program maalum ambayo
Bounce Back is a special program made by our fellows from the European Football Federation, UEFA. It should be remembered that UEFA have partnered with CAF through the UEFA Assist program. So they have come up with Bounce Back program, and we are among the first countries to benefit from it.
The Tanzania Mainland Premier League defending champions Simba Sports Club have moved a step closer to their third successive title with a 2-0 win over Mbeya City at the Sokoine Stadium in Mbeya. Both goals were scored by the captain John Boko, with a possible third being ruled out in the last minute. Now, moving on, Arsenal have announced that David Luiz has signed a one-year contract extension with the club, while Lonis, Cedric Soares and Pablo Mari have penned permanent deals. Here are more details.
Dani Ceballos, meanwhile, will remain with the club until the end of the 2019-2020 Premier League season. But there is no news of Bukayo Saka or Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who are contracted to the Gunners until 2021. Veteran defender Luiz's deal with the Gunners was set to expire at the end of the month, and there had been doubts about whether the club would want to keep him following a series of erratic performances. That included him being sent off 25 minutes after coming on as a substitute against Manchester City last week, with Luiz having also conceded a penalty and made a mistake that led to Raheem Sterling's opening goal in the same game. However, the 33-year-old's experience, plus the lack of viable alternatives amid the coronavirus pandemic, has seen Arsenal move to keep him at the club.
And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has admitted that Manchester United are not yet ready to challenge for the title, and he may have to spend some money in the summer transfer window.
The Red Devils embarked on an 11-match unbeaten run prior to the Premier League's postponement in March, moving to within 3 points of fourth-placed Chelsea in the process. Solskjaer's men also made it through to the FA Cup quarter-finals and Europa League round of 16, but the coronavirus outbreak halted their momentum. United were unable to get back to winning ways upon their return to action last Friday, as they were held to a 1-1 draw by Tottenham in North London. However, the return of Marcus Rashford and Paul Pogba provided the whole squad with a timely boost heading into the business end of the season, and talismanic January signing Bruno Fernandes settled straight back into his influential groove.
And that sports item ends our news bulletin for tonight. My name is Khadija Zimba. Thank you for watching and good night.
Watching all of them is at the end.
Accounts YouTube Capital TV and Facebook Capital Television Tanzania from Monday to Friday at 9:30 p.m. Don't forget to subscribe and put notification on.
Wizara ya Afya, Maendeleo ya Jamii, Jinsia, Wazee na Watoto inatoa tahadhari kwa umma kuhusu mlipuko wa ugonjwa wa homa ya mafua makali unaosababishwa na kirusi cha korona. Ili kujikinga na ugonjwa huu, zingatia yafuatayo: kaa mbali na mtu mwenye dalili za mafua, funika mdomo na pua wakati wa kukohoa au kupiga chafya kwa kutumia kitambaa safi au sehemu ya mbele ya kiwiko cha mkono au nguo uliovaa sehemu za mikono. Epuka kugusana na mgonjwa mwenye dalili za magonjwa ya njia ya hewa kama vile mafua au kikohozi. Nawa mikono kwa maji yanayotiririka